we made the case on Friday that the Giants arguably needed to sweep the Pirates in this weekend series in order to legitimately stay in this race, and sweep they did, thanks to excellent starts by Logan Webb and Carlos Rodon, and then Thairo Estrada saving the day with a 2-run walk-off homer to beat the Pirates on Sunday. So we're going to get into how the Giants, the season has been mostly disappointing, but there are definitely some bright spots starting to emerge, and Estrada is a big one. So we're going to get into that next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And coming up on today's show, the Giants swept the Pirates, and that goes a long way towards, they pulled back to 500. It's like they're still 6 games back, but they did what they needed to do. And I just want to put something to rest really quick. I've seen some talk about how, the Pirates are a bad team, right? And here's the thing, though. Even if you have 70% odds to win each and every game, each individual game, that's only a 1 in 3 chance of a sweep, roughly. So it is not something you can just assume any team is going to do. In fact, how about this? These same Pirates swept the Dodgers in LA earlier this year. So nothing is a given when you're given these opportunities to play these below 500 teams. So the Giants had to earn it, and earn it they did. And some positive themes have emerged for the Giants this year in a season that has had a lot of negative themes as well. When we talk about the defense, the bullpen had its issues in this series as well. But Thairo Estrada with the walk-off home run, and then Webb and Rodon just adding to what has been a very good season for the starting pitching overall. But I want to get into Estrada a little bit because he's kind of an unsung hero on this team, and he had arguably his biggest moment as a Giant there with the walk-off shot in the bottom of the ninth. The Giants down by a run, 1 out, and he's done this a few times actually. On opening day, he tied the game in the bottom of the ninth with a home run, and then the Giants later won it on that Austin Slater double, Darren Ruff on the move, scoring from first. And then Estrada also hit a game-tying home run in Pittsburgh when the Giants were there earlier this year. And now here he is. He's just like, he can tap into some serious power at times. And so he's become like a really interesting player because while he's got this power, he also is a guy who makes a lot of contact, who doesn't strike out, who is a good runner. He's got 16 steals on the year, has only been caught twice, and he has 11 home runs. So it's not at all out of the question, probably not this year, that he could be a 20 homer, 20 steal type of player. And just the way he competes in the box, and he's going to hit you for a decently high average in this day and age. I mean, here's the thing. I see this all the time. People are like, oh, this guy's only hitting 260. Well, that is really good in terms of batting average in today's game. The unreasonableness of expecting or still thinking that 300 is what makes a good average is insane. If you look at the trend of batting average across baseball over time, like league average this year, I actually don't have it pulled up right now, but league average this year is something like 240. And so you just can't expect, it is 243. And so for Estrada to be at 268, look, it's not all about batting average, but batting average is the starting point of everything else. You've got your average, and then depending on your walk rate, you've got your on-base percentage, and then depending on your power, you've got your slugging, which is kind of partially reliant on batting average as well. Isolated power isn't, but slugging is. So anyway, if you put it all together, Thairo Estrada has hit 268, 317 on base, 421 slugging. It's a 108 weighted runs created plus. So it's slightly above average, but above average. And last year with the Giants, he was at 119 in a smaller sample, just 132 plate appearances. So with the Giants now in his career, he's actually played in like 149 games, and he's got 18 homers and 17 steals. And so he's an underrated player. It's not just about homers and steals. For me, I'm looking more at like the weighted runs created plus, the base running. Fangraphs has this base running runs above average, and he's rated as an above average base runner every year he's been in the major leagues. This year with the Giants, 2 runs above average according to this Fangraphs metric. And then when we look at defense, it's a little bit less clear because a certain defensive metric, defensive runs saved, has him at -10 at second base, -2 at shortstop. He has played a little bit in the outfield as well. But by outs above average at second base this year, only -2 outs above average. And at shortstop, +1, +1 out above average. So when I see him play defense, he definitely has had his share of issues this year at times, but I see no reason that he should have issues because he's mobile. He can move around pretty well, rangy, and he's got a good, mostly accurate arm as well. So I think that he can be a good defensive player. He's a good runner. He's just become kind of a solidly above average player at the major league level. And that is a big deal because he's only 26 years old. He has just over 2 years of service time. So he wouldn't be a free agent until after the 2026 season. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 more years of club control the Giants have with Thairo Estrada. And so he's kind of emerged as an everyday player for the most part. He's been able to stay on the field, and it's just been a good thing, along with some other positive themes. I just want to quickly mention, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the show, but maybe when they first picked him up, but I don't know that a lot of people know this. He was shot in the leg in a robbery attempt in Venezuela in 2018 in the offseason between 17 and 18. And he had surgery in Venezuela, and they botched the surgery trying to remove the bullet. And so he lived with a bullet in his hip/thigh for 6 months, and then he finally had it removed in the United States. And then eventually the Giants traded for him from the New York Yankees. So he's overcome a lot. His personality has kind of come through, and there was this video that Alex Wood posted of him entering the clubhouse, big smile on his face after yesterday's walk-off home run, and he's just emerged as kind of an important player on this team, and I just wanted to give him the credit he deserves for breaking through like this. I mean, he's overcome a lot. Fangraphs has him at 1.9 wins above replacement, which is kind of an average season for an average player, but he's only at 97 games played. And so, he's projected for like another 0.6 Fangraphs wins above replacement for the rest of the season. It would be like 127 games. And so you'd be at above average production in like less playing time than a lot of guys who have a full season. And he's only 26, like I said. And so you kind of, he can even get better, I think. And it's just a big deal. And he can play shortstop pretty decently as well. When I said defensively, I think that he can play shortstop and be pretty, when he had to fill in there when Crawford was out, it's definitely noticeable that it's not his primary position, I would say, but he can do it. And so that's a valuable piece. And along with Logan Webb and the emergence of Camilo Doval and Joey Bart, we're actually starting to see some of these future pieces arrive and make the future brighter. So in just a minute, I want to talk about what this win meant to the Giants. Like, where are they now in the standings? How many games back? What are their playoff odds? And what is the upcoming schedule? What do they have to do to possibly sneak into the playoffs this year? But first, as you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, as promised, I want to get into the state of the team. Like, this was big, getting the sweep, getting back to 500. They're 57-57. Their run differential continues to be better than that. Like, if you're a 500 team and like a true 500 team, we would expect the run differential to be 0. You've scored as many runs as you've allowed. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but that's just how it works. If you're scoring as many runs as you allow, you should be winning as many games as you lose, right? It kind of makes logical sense there. But the Giants have outscored their opponents on the season by 19 runs, so it's not a ton, but that has an expected record of 59-55. So they've underperformed it by 2 wins. Underperformed by 2 wins. So, 50, they would have taken those 2 extra wins, and I think there's no doubt we can look back on the season and say, yeah, there were some games they should have won that they didn't. And this kind of backs that up, I guess you would say. So they're 22.5 games back in the NL West. The Dodgers just ripped off, 12 wins in a row? They finally lost yesterday. 12 or 13 wins in a row. They've outscored their opponents by 247 runs this year. They've scored about 100 more runs than the Giants and allowed about 140 fewer runs. So it's just a crazy... The Dodgers are just insane, and it continues to be amazing that the Giants were able to find a way to win the National League West last season with 107 wins. Dodgers well on their way to basically doing that again and winning more than 107 games this year. They're already at 79 wins. So anyway, NL West is over. Giants are not winning that again, of course. But the wild card, Giants are only 6 games back. So they were 7.5 games back just a couple days ago. So that's the thing. You just keep chipping away and you never know what's going to happen. So currently the team the Giants are chasing are the Phillies, who kind of have a history of not holding on. They haven't made the playoffs since 2011. They're currently without Bryce Harper. I'm actually not sure how long he's out. But the Giants are 6 back of that 3rd wild card spot. The Padres are only half a game ahead of the Phillies. So that could switch, and you could see the Giants then chasing the Padres. So we should really be hoping, if you're a Giants fan, hoping for this team to do something. For the Padres to lose, the Phillies to lose, Brewers, I guess. Brewers are now 2nd place, and the Cardinals are leading that division. So for the longest time, the Giants were chasing the Cardinals in this race, but now the Cardinals are leading their division. So I just thought I should throw that out there. But the fact of the matter is, the Giants only have 48 games remaining, and in order to get to the win total, whatever the total is, I talked about this with Ethan in our crossover last Friday, that like on the one hand, you think about, okay, you got to win the matchups when you're facing the teams that you're chasing. Yeah, that helps because you're also decreasing what their win total will be if you keep them from winning a game, and you're increasing what your win total will be. But at the end of the day, there's some number that you're going to need, some number of wins that you're going to need to get into the playoffs. And whatever it is, 88, 89, 90, 87, like we don't know what it is. But in terms of the projections, these other teams, the Padres are projected at 90.7 wins. So 90 or 91, more likely 91 according to Fangraphs. The Brewers at 88.5. So there you go, maybe 88 does do it. And the Phillies at 89. And the Braves at 97. And the Mets winning the division at 93. So that would make the Braves a wild card team, which I think we all know is almost a certainty. The Phillies at 89 and the Padres at 91. And so that would mean you need 80. That would mean you would need 89 to tie, and you would need 90 to just outright win it. So I actually looked at this for, well, let's just say to win 90 games, okay? The Giants would have to go 33-15 the rest of the way. So they would have to win more than twice as many games as they lose. To win 89 games, they would have to go 32-16. So exactly winning twice as many as they lose. Which, look, what's crazy is last season they had a 600 or better winning percentage. Call it a percentage, but that is a decimal. You get what I'm saying. 60% of their games, at least, they won every single month of last year. So they were so consistent. And this year, I think month 1, which was a partial month because of the lockout, we started in like April 10th or something. They were 13-6, I think, in April. So they were over 600. But since then, they haven't even come close. So they've just got to do it from here on out. But it's something they were capable of doing consistently last year. So I just wanted to mention that. So to get to 88 wins, that's 31-17. To get to 86 wins, 29-19. So any way you slice it, those are all playing well. And they've also just won 6 out of 8. So if we look at, if they do end up making it to one of these totals, we'll look back and say, not just starting now, but starting like a week ago, starting with that after they got swept by the Dodgers and then went to Oakland and won 2 straight, lost 2 out of 3 to the Padres and then swept this series, they would have to have some crazy good record. But the beauty is if you keep winning, it gets easier the rest of the way. And so you do have this relatively soft, I guess, upcoming schedule. The thing is the D-backs come into town and the Giants have had a tough time with the athletic D-backs and some of their pitchers. Merrill Kelly, who's going to pitch in this series, has been tough on them, very tough on them. So it's not a cheapie. Giants are going to have to earn it. It is a 4-game series. It's hard to win 3 out of 4. That's the thing, right? 3 out of 4 is a 750 winning percentage. So it is tough to win 3 out of 4. And you usually end up splitting if it's not like a lopsided matchup. A split is pretty common in a best of 4. I mean, a 4-game series. So I don't know. I mean, I think the Giants, I don't want to say need to win 3 out of 4, but if they don't, it's going to be a much tougher road forward because when you're playing below 500 teams, you got to take advantage, even if that team is kind of tough, like the D-backs are. And then you go to Colorado, where, again, it's a below 500 team, but it's a tough place to play sometimes. Then you go to Detroit for 2, Minnesota for 3, and then back home to play San Diego. So there's your chance to make up some ground on a team that's ahead of you. So this is a crucial next couple of months for the Giants, and it starts tonight with Madison Bumgarner on the mound for Arizona. And Giants need to take advantage because in game 2, it's going to be Merrill Kelly, who, as I said, he's got the same ERA as Carlos Rodon on the season at 2.95, and he has just carved up the San Francisco Giants. And they also have to face Zach Gallen at some point in the series, I believe. And the Giants, tonight and tomorrow, it'll be Cobb and Junis, but then they flip the rotation back over and get Webb and Rodon and Webb again, who were just really good in their last couple of starts. So the Giants, tonight is a game. It's not a must-win game, but you got to take advantage when you're facing Madison Bumgarner, who's not the same. He's been okay this year with Arizona, but overall he's just not been very good since going to Arizona. And so you got to take advantage. Coming up in just a minute, there are some roster updates to get into. Joey Bart, his ankle. Joc Pederson, hit by a pitch on the pinky, had x-rays. Thomas Szapucki made his Giants debut. So all of that in just a minute. But first, betonline.net is the fastest and the easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, as promised, roster updates. I just wanted to provide them. Like when we heard that Joey Bart was injured, it was right after we talked about how he was the most important player on the Giants for the rest of the season. So that obviously was an unwelcome sight to hear that he was dealing with an ankle issue and he had an MRI, not just, an x-ray, but an MRI. So Bart is 25. It's funny. We think about Estrada. I don't know. He's the same. He's 1 year older than Joey Bart. So Estrada, an important young player. What's so important about these guys is that the service time clock is low. And so you have team control for when guys show up, you get 6 years of service of control where you get to bring those players back each and every year if you want to. And you also have the flexibility of being able to option guys early on in their service time careers. And Estrada can't be optioned, but why would you? Bart can still. But it's these types of players with club control are just vitally important. And the Giants haven't done a good job in the last decade, basically, of developing players who are important parts of the future. But Logan Webb last year emerged as one. You've got your kind of complementary players like Wade and Yastrzemski. But then Bart and Estrada are more like, they've been more of everyday players. And for Joey Bart, he had another solid game yesterday, and he's just been really good defensively. He's emerged as like much more of a leader. He's gotten much more comfortable, and it's just great to see. And so he's back. That's the thing, is that the X-ray or the MRI revealed a sprain, and then he was able to start at least one game in this series. I think just one, the finale. So it was good to see him back. He did rack up a couple hits in the game. He had 2 hits, and he didn't strike out, so that's always a good sign as well. 3 out of his last 5 games, he has not struck out. And actually, if you look back, since he was called up from the minors in early July, the strikeout rate for Bart is only 31.4%. So at the time he was optioned, it was like 45%. So we're looking at a significant number of games here. 86 plate appearances since coming back up, only a 31.4% strikeout rate and a 132 weighted runs created plus. Average on balls in play has been unsustainably high. I'm not going to lie. Since he's been called up, it's 380. He's not going to keep that up, but if he can keep the strikeout rate at around 30%, that is just a much different scenario than what we were looking at early. And the ISO, the power, 207 ISO since getting called back up. So that will play. The strikeout rate will play. All the other stuff will get dragged down a little bit when the average on balls in play gets dragged down naturally. But it's still very much something you can work with, especially at the catcher position where offense is just generally not good. So he has a potential to be an above average offensive catcher. And I think the defense is well on its way to being above average as well. So it's been a good year for Joey Bart, especially in the last month and a half. So Joc Pederson hit in the pinky by a pitch, which they're finally like healthy and pretty much at full strength. And so to lose Pederson would have been not good, but he had x-rays on the pinky, negative. He's fine. He said he expects to be available off the bench today. What that means is that he's not going to start because it's a lefty, Bumgarner on the mound, but available off the bench, hopefully, and then able to start against Merrill Kelly. And how about this? Thomas Szapucki made his Giants debut, and it didn't go very well. He allowed a home run to the first batter he faced, and then he gave up at least another hit or walk. He just didn't have a very good outing, but he's here, and Yunior Marte was optioned. Giants are still going with only 12 pitchers right now. I do believe at some point soon, especially because we've seen them leaking oil a little bit, that they're going to have to add another reliever. And so it could be tonight, and the corresponding move is not clear. I think Luis González is in danger of being optioned. He really, if you look back over the last couple months, he has just struggled like the whole time, basically. So I think they need to add a pitcher, and there's not a lot of possibilities for a position player to get bumped off the roster. I don't think they're going to DFA Tommy La Stella or something just to avoid optioning a struggling Luis González, who didn't even start against a right-handed pitcher yesterday or pinch hit or anything. He didn't even appear in the game. So I think it would be González, and I wouldn't be shocked to see that tonight. Anyway, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out a ton, so thanks in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. Can't wait to be with you again tomorrow talking about this critical game for the Giants. They're all critical at this point. So thanks again for listening, and you are now Locked On Giants.